Hi guys, today I want to talk about water resistant paints. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been doing a series called Estate Walls Inspection, which is basically me going to different estates and inspecting their walls. And so far, I had a particular issue which I noticed with all these walls, and that issue is wall dampness or mold and mildew on their walls, which is why I want to talk about water resistant paint. Now, I feel like those issues could actually be avoided. It could be avoided at the initial stage while painting is going on. There's a particular process you have to follow in order to prevent this wall dampness and mildew from happening, especially if your house is at a coastal area or areas that are usually flooded. First of all, let's talk about water resistant paints. What are these paints? These are special paints that are formulated to repel water, moisture, humidity, and even water splashes. Areas like your bathroom, your external walls, houses around the coastal region, walls that are exposed to rain, all of that. Now, these water resistant paints, they are very strong, and because of how strong they are, they could also resist UV rays and rains. And also because of how powerful they are, it could resist peeling and cracking. That is the power of water resistant paints. Now, these paints, there are different types of it. We've got the acrylic water resistant paint, we've got the epoxy, the oil based enamel water resistant paint, and so many other water resistant paints. But I just want to talk about these three for now. The acrylic water resistant paint could be mixed with water, and this is the one you use for your dry walls, your external walls, and other areas. And naturally, these water resistant paints are very flexible. I always talk about epoxy. That's because of how solid it is. So let's talk about this epoxy water resistant paint. This particular one could actually resist both water and chemicals. So it is both water and chemical resistant. And it can be used for areas like your bathroom, your pool, concrete floors. So this one has a glassy finish. You know how glass can resist water. That is what epoxy water resistant paint can actually do. Now, moving on to the oil-based enamel water resistant paint. This one is specifically for metals and woods that are exposed to water. In order for you to achieve a great result out of these water resistant paint in general, there are certain things you need to do, certain steps you need to follow. And number one of it is for you to always prepare the surface for which you want to apply this water resistant paint. Just like for the ladies, when you want to polish your nails, you don't just go ahead to put the top coat onto your nails without doing certain things. Before you apply the top coat, you have to file the nail, brush the nail, and apply the first coat before applying the top coat, right? The same thing applies to painting your walls, your metals, your woods, and all of that. So in order to get the best result out of this water resistant paint, make sure the surface is very clean, free of dust, free of dirt, of grease. For the dry wall, you have to scrape the wall, sandpaper the wall, and prime the wall before applying this paint. For the metal and the wood, of course, you know that some metals are already rusty, but you can't just apply the enamel paint directly on the rusty metal. So in order to achieve the best out of that water resistant paint from the metal and the wood, you have to prime the wood or the metal first. For the metal that is already rusty, before priming it, you have to shine it, clean it properly. Possibly you can sand it, sandpaper the surface to make sure it's smooth and free of any rust, and then you prime it before applying the paint. Then you have to do multiple coats. One coat is not enough. You have to do 2 to 3 coats in order to achieve the best result. I'm going to show you a sample of what this water resistant paint can actually do on your wall or your metal. Now, I've got a sieve here which I've carefully applied this water resistant paint to, and we all know what sieves are for. It's used to strain out water or moisture, and as you can see, all the holes have been blocked with this water resistant paint. So onto the sieve, I have done 3 coats of water resistant acrylic paint. I told you all that it is very flexible, and because of the flexibility, it could actually resist both rain, water, UV rays, and the rest of it. Now I'm going to show you a quick practical. I'm going to pour some amount of water into this stream, and we'll see for ourselves if it's going to strain the water out or hold the water. Let's go. So as you can see, this is a perfect sieve that I've actually applied this acrylic water resistant paint onto, and currently it is holding this large quantity of water in it without straining, without dropping. As you can see, this is exactly what water resistant paint can do for your wall. Imagine you applying this kind of paint on your wall. It means the wall cannot soak in water. The wall would fight against dampness, against molds and mildew. This is what it does. And like I said, one coat is not enough. So I've done about 3 coats here. So if you're applying this on your wall, you have to do like multiple coats. For your metals and woods, you also have to do like 2 or 3 coats in order for the metals to be able to resist water. Another tip in order to achieve the best out of this water resistant paint is also to allow it to properly dry and cure. The appropriate curing time for enamel water resistant paint is 7 to 14 days. So once you apply your metal or your wood with this enamel paint, you have to give it like 7 to 14 days to dry properly, to cure properly, while the curing period for your walls for the acrylic water resistant paint is 7 days. So when you apply this on your wall, you have to give your walls at least 7 days to dry properly, to properly cure. That way you can get the best out of this water resistant paint. I know you all are kind of confused that what's the difference between this and waterproofing. It's actually almost similar, but there are quite some differences. So for waterproofing entirely blocks water from penetrating. It entirely blocks out water, whereas water resistant paint repels water. So it means that for waterproofing, it could block out water for about 8 to 10 years, whereas the water resistant paint could repel water for about 3 to 7 years. So that's one of the difference. Also, waterproofing can be used for wall surfaces, both interior and exterior. One basic thing about waterproofing is that it is used before the paint is applied. So it's what you do underneath the paint work. And it is used for certain areas like your concrete floor, your foundation, your parapets, and bathroom, wet rooms, roof, and all that. Now, I have another sample which I have done in order to show you the difference between waterproofing and water resistant paint. And right here I've got another sieve which I've carefully applied the waterproofing material onto. Now before I go into this, waterproofing materials vary. There are different types. We've got the cementatious waterproofing material, and we also have the undercoat waterproofing material. So for the cementatious, this is the one that you mix with the liquid form in order to get the paste. Now that is what I've actually done. I've mixed the powder and the liquid form to achieve the cementatious base, which I applied also onto the sieve. Now one difference between waterproofing and water-based paint is that waterproofing is naturally thicker than water-based paint. Water-based paint is lighter. So while you're doing 2 to 3 coats of water-based paint for the cementatious waterproofing material, you don't need to do 2 to 3 coats. With cementatious waterproofing material, 1 coat, 2 coats is enough. So for this particular sieve, I only did 1 coat of it, 1 solid coat of this cementatious waterproofing material. And let's see if it will be able to hold in water like this water-based paint is. So I'm going to transfer the water from this water-based sieve to the cementatious waterproofing sieve. So can you see this? As you can see, this is holding this water like a normal container would. That is what waterproofing does. So if you do this on your building before applying your paint, definitely, most definitely, your walls will be free from wall dampness, mildew, and mold over time. So yeah, that's what I have to say today about waterproofing and water resistant paint. Guys, let me know in the comments if you'll be trying this in your building. Let me know if you're going to be waterproofing your walls, if you're going to be using water resistant paint, especially for those that stay in the coastal region like Lagos, Nigeria. You need to use water resistant paint, and you also need to waterproof your buildings before painting is done. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also hit the notification bell in order to be notified when I drop new videos, and please drop your thoughts in the comments. Thank you guys.